Welcome to UCHL's 4 Today's Media Luncheon. Our players are defensive end Matt Judon, offensive guard Jim Walsh, with head coach Matt Mitchell in the middle. Coach, if you can talk about the Ferris State game, and then we'll move on to this week's game, which is at Colorado State-Pueblo. It's going to be a 2 p.m. Eastern kick, and will be televised on Comcast Channel 900.
Obviously, great job by our coaches and players. I think our coaching staff did a good job with game plans heading into the week of prep, and having a lot of tape. And our previous loss on there was really huge for us as a coaching staff. And then great job by our players in the preparation throughout the course of the week, and then obviously the execution of the game plan. It was going to be that type of game, very gritty game down to the wire, and we just found a way to make a few more plays than they did. I think our defense did a great job. The first time around, we weren't really getting pushed around between the tackles very much. We had struggles with the big play, where there was short passes that were advanceable passes, or some stuff where they got in behind us or made plays down the sideline. I think that we did an excellent job as a staff, and also our kids of making some adjustments that way, basically taking away a lot of those bubble screens that hurt us the first time and getting more leverage on the football, and just take away a lot of the short, quick stuff. And they still made some plays. We had some contested footballs where they made plays, but at the end of the day, I think we were just very resilient, very gritty, persistent would be the word I would use with our defense. Just kept kind of sticking with it. And, we busted a couple things and we cut a guy loose one time in man coverage for an easy touchdown. And one of the other touchdowns, we didn't play cover 3 very well. But we're just really persistent on the defensive side of the ball and just kept playing. And obviously, probably the big couple keys to the whole football game were we got them to a 3rd and 8 on that second to last possession. And that's big when you can get Ferris off schedule. And we got him off schedule. And we created some pressure. Kind of got him to step up, and we had David Talley spying him, and I don't think he really saw him in his vision through the pick to Talley. And then, the last drive just kept getting pressure, kept making, him uncomfortable with the pressure and the different coverages, and, just kind of kept him off balance. So obviously Trey makes a great play at the end to kind of seal the whole thing. But just one of those, defensive efforts. That's a very prolific offense with some great players and a good scheme. You weren't going to hold them to 14 or 21, and we made enough plays to really make a difference. Offensively, we scored more points than we ever had against that defense, and we're much more explosive. They were really good up inside, and we found enough runs to kind of keep them off balance. I thought that we did block some things up very well against their interior defensive line, and we did get Kirk Spencer and Martavius Carter to the next level. But obviously, the story of the game is the explosive plays that we had in the passing game. We hit Matt Williams on a double move. And Erston Smith made some really big plays. Jamie didn't really practice much all week and was kind of touch and go. We saw him run a couple routes. Just thought it was, in everybody's best interest to kind of pull him down at that point and have him punt only. And so Erston's role had to really increase, and I think it was more of his type of game because they were playing a lot more press coverage. The corners were a lot more physical. And so he's a bigger body receiver, and he made some plays. He made some plays to extend the drive on the first touchdown. Obviously had the big touchdown catch and did a lot of dirty work for us too. So, Bart Williams, was pressured. Their defensive line was good. He had to shake some things off, but he continued to make plays and did a great job. And again, a big series after the pick. We kind of, gave up a sack, and we're a little herky-jerky there offensively to try to take this 2-score lead, but we bring Potts in with our offense, and the kick that got the ball down to the 2-yard line was big for our defense. For them to have to try to go 98 yards was really big. And then from a special team standpoint, when you look back on things, the Joel Skipper 40-some-yard field goal was huge, and the fact that we got some pressure inside and their kicker pulled one to the left. Instead of being a 3-point lead that we had to defend on the last possession, we ended up having to defend a 4-point lead, which just made a huge difference in terms of their approach and also our approach as we kind of headed down the field. So, as I said, good job by our coaches and players figuring out a way to get it done. We just wanted to be 1-8 when the afternoon was over, and obviously we're 1-8. So moving forward, playing Pueblo, defending national champs at their house. Completely different team than we faced 2 years ago on both sides of the coin, both their team and our team. But we can't point to a few of the guys that went on that trip. Had that experience, so we'll lean on that. The fact that we've been there and seen their stadium and had a feel for kind of what they do. But they're very good. They're really good at running the ball. They have two tailbacks that are extremely good. That obviously are brothers. They're really good. They're about as good as they get in Division II in terms of running the football. They create a lot of edges with tight ends and formations and shifts and trades and create conflict for our guys. They're a physical football team that has a lot of different ways to run the football, and that's what they hang their head on. Defensively, they've always been solid year in and year out. I don't think this is any exception whatsoever. They have a very stout front. They play a little bit more of a three-down front, which we don't see a lot in our league, so it's going to be an adjustment for our players. But they have some big physical inside kids and do a great job of getting their guys into third downs, and they kind of go to work in third downs with their defensive line. So, be a big challenge for us. But we'll try to find a way to get on tape and just as I said, we're 1-8 and try to be 1-4. I think the thing that's unique about this playoff game as opposed to the two previous. We had some experiences with those other two teams and knew them very well. It's going to be really imperative this week that our players get in on tape, and that's our only frame of reference is the tape and watching that. And you'll have a couple teams that obviously it's been a couple years since they played, a lot of new faces out there. So we got to get on tape, and it's not like the previous two where we can see the mistakes we made. We're going to have to be doing a good job of kind of understanding where we got to be and a little bit more visualizing things based on the tape as opposed to our experiences. So. We'll fly out there and have a good week of preparation. Really what we're concerned about right now is us and what we got to do to have success next Saturday. Questions?
Coach, have you played anybody this year that forces the issue with the run as much and can draw on anything from a past opponent about stopping the run? I know you always want to stop the run, but
Sure.
Is there anybody similar at all?
From the marriage of personnel and scheme, I don't think so. I don't think there's anybody that we've seen that has this collection of like offensive line, tight ends, backs that I can think of. I mean, I think there's some similarities schematically with a couple teams in our league, with like a Wayne State, maybe in like a Hillsdale, but there's differences in terms of talent. So, not really, to be honest with you. There's not really anybody we've played on our schedule. And, you get in these type of games, you got to be able to stop the run, and that'll be a big challenge. They're extremely physical, so it'll put a lot of pressure on our defensive line, but it even put more pressure on our linebackers and our safeties. I mean, they're going to be in a lot of duress with a lot of things that they do. So it's a great question, but I don't know if I can draw a whole lot of parallels based on our schedule.
Your defensive line, though, has been a strength all year, so they're playing to a strength anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, even on Saturday, I felt like a strength of our team. I think our interior defensive linemen are playing extremely well. We knew DJ Hogan. He's an all-GLIAC guy. We knew that heading into the season. I think the two guys that, we're getting some production on last week, I was very impressed with Mark Rosenquist. I think he's doing a good job being stout and playing extremely hard in there. Sonny Haskins is doing a good job. And, I think we'll have Keon Belcher back, who was doing a good job playing inside too. So, those inside, we knew Matt Judon and Alton Voss, they played a lot of snaps, and they're going to be productive defensive ends. I've been impressed with some of our new faces. I think Dylan Carroll's done a really good job this year of progressing and developing, just kind of like our whole team has. And I would say the same thing with Mark Rosenquist and Sonny. We feel like we've got some guys down in there that can play at a high level, but, they do too. They've got some really good offensive linemen.
Address that if you would. You're the freshmen and sophomore especially made big contributions Saturday, and they've grown up along the way, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, you start with Bart Williams, our sophomore quarterback. I didn't realize this after the game. I think he's like 4 yards away from breaking the single-season passing record at Grand Valley, breaking Kurt Ains's record. I mean, that's elite company that he's getting ready to, get in with. And yeah, I think that's, you want to look at Saturday, the difference between, that game and week 3. You can point to our quarterback play. I know he threw a couple picks, but one of those picks was kind of a tip ball. I don't know if it was on him, but he made a lot of big plays and big throws in that football game. We were very explosive. Our passing yardage was obviously a lot more than our rushing yardage, so that falls on the quarterback. But, yeah, you talk about him. You got Ben Walling, a freshman that's starting at tackle. Dan DeLuca's a sophomore that's starting at the other tackle. We got 2 tackles that are underclassmen. I've talked a lot about Nick Dodson. Martavius Carter had another nice touchdown run and is doing some things like hit a big kickoff return for us too, and has continued to grow and develop. And then, defensively, I think Trey Walton played a great ball game at corner. I mean, he got attacked several times, and he stood up every single time that he got attacked. And he's a sophomore, and Garrett Punier with the pick and is really coming into his own as a sophomore. So, yeah, we do have some younger guys that are playing well, and obviously my focus right now is on 2015, and it's on this game Saturday. But if you want to take a step back, I think it bodes well for our program moving forward. It's good for the future of Grand Valley football that we have some of these younger classmen that are good players that are getting these experiences. It's almost impossible to replicate those experiences we had at Ashland, those experiences we had at Ferris, and that will only serve our football program as we move forward. This Saturday, but obviously heading into 16, 17, those future years, it'll really help our program, those guys getting those experiences.
For the two players, you guys have obviously had two real nice wins against undefeated teams back-to-back weeks. Do you buy into momentum at this point in the season going forward, or is it just reset, refocus each week?
I think it's reset, refocus each week. You got to take every game as its own entity, and you got to focus on that game. We can't live off the hype of the Ferris State win, and at Ferris we couldn't live off the hype of the Ashland win. So we got to take every week as 1 week.
Every team we play is different, so we got to reset every week, enjoy it for a day, and then get back to work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, get ready for the next week.
This one's for the players too. Is there any weariness that sets in, or is it is the excitement building as the playoffs go along?
It's the playoffs.
Coach, from an offensive standpoint, if they're trying to run the ball, obviously, run the ball, clock, and all that stuff, do you change anything of your plan, or is it Grand Valley's game plan kind of always the same?
No, I mean, we're going to do what we do. It got us to this point. I don't think we're going to change tremendously. I think that our players have to understand, and we haven't met as a team, but I'll tell them this, that if they could just run the ball, then we're going to lose, and that's what they're good at. So we got to stop the run, and I think our offense has got to understand that there might be limited possessions. I don't know if there's going to be as many possessions, so we can't afford to have turnovers. We can't afford to have missed execution, pre-snap penalties. We can't have guys busting assignments because we're not going to get a whole lot of opportunities, and especially when you take in the context that we're going against a very solid defense, our mistakes can get magnified too. So there's got to be a high sense of urgency. But you're getting to 8 teams in the nation. This is defending national champs. Everybody's going to be good at this point in time, and those pressures are no different than what these guys have been living the entire season. Okay,
your team all year has been a really good road team. Talk a little bit about the road game. Changes a little bit this week, but does the stuff carry over the team being a good team on the road?
Yeah, that's it's a great point. It's very unique. I think that part of the reason we're in the position that we're in, which is being 1-8 and having a chance to compete here this Saturday, is some of these experiences earlier in the season. That ball game was back and forth. It was extremely tight in the third and fourth quarter. We never had anybody on our sideline flinching at any point in time. And you look back to like the ODU game, the nature of that being so back and forth. The Tiffin game, that was back and forth. That was very hectic. The Saginaw game, we've had some games. Some of those have been on the road that have been very tight, very back and forth. Even the loss at Ashland. And so I think we've become pretty comfortable with the ebbs and flows and the chaotic nature of those type of contests. We're very comfortable in that realm. And, I think the other thing, as you mentioned, we've traveled great. I think that comes down to our leadership. But, we're having pregame meals at 8 a.m. for noon starts. And, our guys have been on fire. I mean, they're up and ready to go and excited at 8 a.m., typically college kids, I don't think roll out of bed every Saturday at 8 a.m., but our guys have been up attacking pregame meal, getting after it. And you could just I knew we were in pretty good shape when we had everybody down there was ready to go and eating at like 7:50, and we attacked meetings and just our whole approach to how we're doing everything. I knew we were in pretty good shape just based on the approach of our players and the way that we travel. So we're going to keep a very similar schedule for Friday and Saturday that we have on all these road games. It's been working for us. I think our players are comfortable with it. And, I anticipate this group of guys will attack all the preparation this week and attack the travel.
That will conclude today's media luncheon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.